Okay, there's a bit of a lull now in movie releases until Tron and Avatar, so I thought it's the perfect time to talk about Greta Gerwig's upcoming Narnia. It's a project I've been watching very closely because, you see, there's this crazy thought. What if there was more to Narnia than what we've seen or read? Beyond teleporting rings, multiverses, yes, I said multiverses, beyond talking animals or the action of kingdoms rising and falling, on a deeper level, what if there was more to this series than these superfluous elements we remember? Here's a hard question. What if the greatest truths of our lives were never meant to be explained in scripture, but lived through stories? Fall, redemption, grace, and glory, not told through doctrine, through religion, but through stories in snow-covered forests, enchanted creatures, and a lion's roar. You see, C.S. Lewis didn't just write the Chronicles of Narnia as children's stories, even though they're often seen as just that. He wrote them as spiritual parables, each chapter soaked in mythic logic of Christian teachings. Let me be very clear, he wasn't offering us an escape from reality, he was offering a map back to it. And at the heart of it all stands an unmistakable allegory, a retelling of the Christian narrative, not through dogma, but through wonder.
In your world, I have another name.
Look, this shit is crazy. The deeper you enter Narnia, the more you see the signs. Aslan is not just a talking lion, he is God. He creates Narnia through song, just as the Gospel of John tells us that through him all things were made. He is the embodiment of divine justice and mercy, terrifying in his holiness, yet tender beyond comprehension. When Aslan dies for Edmund's betrayal, it isn't just a mentor figure biting the bullet to propel our hero forward like it is in many other mythic stories. It is a reenactment of Calvary. Edmund the traitor stands in for all of humanity, those who, like Adam and Eve, chose the apple, or in this case, a Turkish delight. Edmund is Judas here, the betrayer, and Aslan, like Christ, takes on the punishment of humanity's betrayal. It's atonement in its purest, most poetic form, the innocent dying for the guilty, not out of obligation, but out of love.
So much for love.
And the White Witch? Well, she's no ordinary villain. She's the stand-in for the devil itself. Just like Satan himself, she tempts not through force, but through flattery and twisted truth. Lies. Her offerings are the Garden of Eden all over again. She is the serpent, Edmund is Adam, and the candy is the apple. The Pevensey children too are more than just protagonists, they're disciples, chosen not for their perfection, but for their willingness to follow. Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy mirror the early followers of Christ, flawed, impulsive, frightened, but eventually transformed by their encounter with the divine. Peter is brave, but proud. Edmund is a betrayer turned loyal. Lucy, the youngest, is the most faithful. Her belief never wavers, even when the others doubt it. It's in Lucy that we see the ideal of a childlike faith that Jesus praises in the gospel. And Susan, whose loss of faith in the last battle mirrors Judas not through betrayal but through abandonment. Now, the last battle was a story that the movies never got to explore as they only got up to the Dawn Treader, but Susan is the cautionary tale. Her absence in the end reminds us that belief is not guaranteed. It will be shaken, and it needs to be chosen again and again.
You're saying that we should just believe her?
Narnia only going up to the Dawn Treader is like Harry Potter only going up to the Goblet of Fire. Essentially, Narnia never got to finish their saga. They never got to do their Deathly Hallows. So here's some context, and let's double down on Susan's dismissal of Narnia. Her loss of faith. It hits different when you really sit with it. In the last battle, Susan isn't there. She's not on the train. She's not in Aslan's country. She's not counted among the faithful who enter eternity. And why? Not because she did something overtly evil or tragic, but because she stopped believing. When the others talk about Narnia, she laughs it off. She calls it childish games, says it was just a phase, like growing out of make-believe. She's busy with lipstick and parties, caught up in the world deemed real. Her career, beauty, attention, social life, and so forth. But Lewis isn't condemning makeup or adulthood. He's showing us something much deeper, much scarier if you think about it. That the most dangerous form of disbelief isn't violent rejection, it's just forgetting. It's subtle, it's slow, it's choosing what is immediate over what is eternal. Whilst her siblings die on the train and are ushered into Aslan's kingdom, this image of heaven, of salvation, Susan is left behind. Alive, yes, but spiritually adrift. Her world keeps turning while theirs transcends. It's a terrifying reversal, right? In surviving the crash, she is the only one who doesn't enter paradise. Her exclusion isn't punishment, it's the natural outcome of her choice to turn away from the wonder she once knew. Lewis is essentially telling us that faith isn't a childhood toy you can grow out of, it's a path you choose and you choose to stay on. It kind of sucks we never got to see the last battle or any of the other books in the Chronicles. After the voyage of the Dawn Treader, the story of Narnia takes a deeply spiritual turn. In the Silver Chair, we follow Eustace and Jill as they navigate a world that has grown darker, colder, and more cynical. But it is in the last battle where everything really comes to head. A false Aslan is introduced, an Antichrist figure conjured by deception and confusion. The once golden Narnia collapses into chaos, much like our own world, fraying under the weight of lies and spiritual apathy. And then, in the final moments of his final book, we learn the shocking truth that I just mentioned: the Pevensey children, along with others who believed, have died in a train crash in the real world. But what seems like an ending is actually just a beginning. They're brought into Aslan's country, which is not a dream, but a truer reality than anything we've ever known. Even the end of Narnia is overtly religious in nature. The sun dies, the stars fall, time itself ends, and yet it's not a tragedy. Aslan leads the faithful into a new country, a new world, one more real than the old, echoing the vision of the new heavens and the new earth in Revelation. Narnia has overtly Christian themes throughout, divine laws about love and moral gravity. So what's the secret, right? The secret of Narnia? Because right now it just sounds like a really straightforward Christian allegory. But here's the thing, and this is where I'm really going to pull the rug out from underneath you, because I've made it sound like a Christian allegory this entire time. But the more you dig into Lewis's writings, the more you realize that Narnia is not an allegory at all. Not even close. An allegory is when one thing represents another. Aslan represents Jesus, the White Witch represents Satan, and so on. But Lewis himself pushed back on this. Now, if you read The Magician's Nephew, you know that Lewis outright builds a cosmology where multiple universes exist side by side. Narnia is just one of countless worlds accessible through the magical pools in the wood between the worlds. That means Narnia doesn't have to be a fictional stand-in for Earth, a metaphor, an allegory. It can actually exist in the same multiverse as our own, governed by the same god who chooses to enter different realities in different forms. So therefore, the Pevensies aren't just visiting a dreamland like Alice in Wonderland, they're stepping into a parallel creation. Heck, Aslan confirms this to the Pevensies in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, that they must learn to know him by another name in their world. Seen in this light, Narnia isn't just some fictional allegory for Christianity, it's another corner of God's creation, just another reality in the sea of realities presented in The Magician's Nephew. So in Narnia, they also celebrate Christ and his birthday. That's why Santa's in the story, only Christ is Aslan. So this is the real secret of Narnia. The Christian story doesn't just exist in Narnia as a metaphor, it's history here. It's happened. Aslan's death on the stone table isn't a symbolic retelling of cavalry, it is cavalry, refracted through another reality. So a surface level understanding of Narnia might see Narnia as an allegory or a metaphor for Christianity, when really it's just an imaginative exploration of what salvation might look like if the infinite God that we know wrote himself into another universe's story. Okay, so once you start seeing or thinking of Narnia as a real universe in just a wider multiverse, you notice something quite unsettling. Almost every time a human from another reality shows up, they leave a mark that changes Narnia's history, for better or worse. In The Magician's Nephew, Polly and Diggory's curiosity unleashes Jadis into this newborn world, setting into motion centuries of darkness. Centuries earlier, a band of pirates stumbled through a portal, their arrival reshaping culture, belief, and power in ways Lewis subtly mirrors with real-world history, really being a metaphor for Islam and how it's not congruent with Christianity. The Pevensey children are probably the rare exception, stepping in as heroes who shift Narnia's fate for the better, but even their reign alters the course of events. Across the series, we're watching reality hoppers disturb the natural order of a world they didn't fully belong to, nudging it off its traditional trajectory. By the time the last battle rolls around, Aslan closing the door on Narnia feels less like an obituary ending and more like a mercy, drawing the curtain closed on a world steadily declining under the weight of foreign interference and corruption.
If you had asked me, why do you not believe in God? I would have answered, look at the universe we live in.
Mr. Lewis.
Roger, usual please.
Alright, so Lewis's exploration of faith and myth did not just happen in a vacuum. He was a reluctant convert and pushed away Christianity for a majority of his life. This is best shown in the movie The Reluctant Convert.
Can't remember feeling much interest in it.
He was shaped, challenged, and sharpened by his close friendship with J.R. Tolkien. Yeah, Lord of the Rings Tolkien. The two men both believed in the power of fantasy to convey profound truths, but they diverged in method and tone. Tolkien preferred subtlety. He disliked allegory, calling Narnia too on the nose. He saw Lewis's use of direct Christian symbols as lacking the internal coherence and depth of a fully realized mythological world. His direct use of Santa Claus being proof of that. And perhaps he was right in a literary sense. Middle-earth is meticulous, immersive, and dense with its own sacred logic, but Lewis wasn't trying to build a consistent mythology. He was trying to reach hearts. He was writing to children, to doubters, to cynics, to seekers, because that's what he was himself. He was writing to a modern world that had already begun to drift from the moral anchor of faith. And in our current age, where relativism reigns and spiritual hunger is drowned out by distraction, Lewis's work feels more vital than ever. We don't need another epic. We need a reminder that truth can be simple, beautiful, and personal. Where Tolkien built a legend, Lewis offered an invitation instead, and that invitation still stands.
What do they teach in schools these days?
This is why Narnia still matters, at least to me. Not as fantasy, but as revelation. In a world that's forgotten how to see spiritually, seeing just the objective world around them, Lewis reminds us that these great questions about good and evil, life and death, sin and grace are not abstract puzzles. They are lived realities. Every one of us is Edmund, craving something sweet even as it poisons us. Every one of us is Susan, tempted to forget, to give up on faith. And every one of us is Lucy, called to believe, even when others laugh. But above all, every one of us is invited, called by the voice of the lion who says, "Come further, come in."
In your world, I have another name.
I see trees of green.
There is a reason the wardrobe stands open at the end of the story. Lewis doesn't just want you to read about Narnia, he wants you to enter it, not to escape your world, but to better understand it, not to avoid pain, but to see it change. So now we find ourselves at this threshold once again, standing before the wardrobe, waiting to see if the door will open. With Greta Gerwig set to take the reins of the upcoming Narnia reboot, the question isn't just about how these stories will look, but whether they'll still feel sacred. Gerwig's past work, Lady Bird, a portrait of a young girl navigating Catholic school and grace, and Barbie, which surprisingly carried theological weight in its exploration of identity, purpose, and creatorhood, shows she's no stranger to spiritual themes. She doesn't preach, she reveals, just like C.S. Lewis.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
And maybe that's what Narnia needs right now. Maybe that's what we need right now. Not a spectacle, but a rediscovery. With this franchise, but also with faith. Now, can she walk the line Lewis walked so masterfully? Will she dare to preserve the mythic core of the story? The lion, the stone table, the deeper magic, while speaking to a generation starved for transcendence. Whilst the studio wants another blockbuster, another IP that they can milk, what we need is another parable, and I think Gerwig is up for the challenge.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world.
Then I have failed you.
wonderful world.
It is finished.